welcome to a conversation with myself, Mark Wood, Senior Creative Director at Superunion, and Pierre Paslier from Notpla about the amazing Notpla product and the story. So welcome, Pierre. First of all, the kind of making plastic packaging disappear is kind of what Notpla's all about. But tell us about this change and why it's so important that Notpla is doing it, and the role of Notpla in taking on that rather big, bold statement.
So Notpla is a sustainable packaging startup.
Yep.
We created this out of this need to get ourselves out of this plastic problem we've created. I think everyone is now very conscious of how much pollution is coming from plastic packaging.
Yep.
And we really need to address this problem. And in a way, we thought that we could use nature's solutions for fighting our own human-made problems by leveraging the incredible power of seaweed to create some new packaging solutions that are naturally biodegradable, natural, and even edible in some cases.
Yeah. It's a revolutionary kind of concept at the core, I guess, and you know, I guess that you must have faced some challenges along the way. That's something that's going to take on the might of plastic through a seaweed-based material. There must have been some ups and downs on that journey.
Definitely, I think that we have a very efficient system working around plastic. So anything that you try to bring in to actually make that better for the environment is going to have to somehow retrofit in a place where natural materials aren't really kind of like suitable. So it's been a lot of challenges to just even get to the point where we're at, and I think we are at the very beginning of our journey. But essentially, when you think about it, plastic is pretty much indestructible. So that's a very useful function for the time of making products. Because you can make all sorts of things, and then it's an awful kind of like property when you want to get rid of it. But on the contrary, natural materials have a lot of kind of like limitations, but they are very easy to disappear at the end of life because they are part of the natural cycle. So a lot of the challenges are basically taking one of those kind of like natural material and pushing it through an industrial process still to have scale and efficiency, but essentially kind of like not pushing it too far that actually nature doesn't recognize that at the end of life. So it's been a real journey of working with the rest of the industry to try to make available some of their machines and processes and try to bring our kind of like viscous and smelly seaweed products onto their lines and see how we can make it work. But luckily, I think a lot of people are also really willing to engage and try to find some better solutions. So overall, we are seeing a lot of like positive attitude towards these new solutions.
Yeah, but when we started this collaboration between Superunion and what is now Notpla, I remember we kind of sat down and discussed a kind of a material name, a kind of Gore-Tex or a Teflon type of name for the brand. Can you just sort of explain why that was important and why that was the direction that we needed to go down?
I think we realized that the power of giving a name to the material was going to make it so much easier for people to actually see value in what this material can do. And I think the problem with packaging is this kind of invisible layer between us and the content that we are purchasing, and we don't see it anymore. We don't kind of like engage with it in like as if it was the main content of the product. And when you walk into a supermarket, you don't realize that all you see is plastic. All of the stuff you buy are behind the plastic. And so I think that for us, when we realized that we could create like a material derived from seaweed that would do all of these amazing things, being natural, being biodegradable, even edible in some cases for the little bubbles that we're using for marathons or sachets for takeaway, we thought that like that would highlight what this material does and people would perceive that value. And I think that from a brand perspective, that gives a lot of kind of like future-proofing to Notpla to be the partner for all of the other brands that create the content to work with the best sustainable packaging solution there is on the market.
Yeah, I mean, and we've been creating this partnership. And I know you've been in many other partnerships, whether it's with Lucozade or Unilever or Glenlivet. How do you use creativity to kind of engage with those brands and bring them along on the Notpla journey?
I think from the beginning, those partnerships require creativity because we're a tiny startup. They are like a very large and well-established organization. So just to find kind of like a common ground requires a little bit of kind of like getting out of your comfort zone from both kind of like parties. And then because we are on our journey to have the impact we want to have, and they're on the journey to also kind of like improve what products they put out there and their responsibility to kind of like make the best choices available to them at that point. We can't just kind of like rely on things that are already tested and existing, and the good old frameworks don't work. So we have to take a bit of risk, and that means we have to, bounce some ideas, test some slightly kind of like crazier ones. Sometimes it doesn't work, but I think that like we engage in a highly kind of like creative level to be able to find something that works.
And you know, you've been on this journey with many creative leaps along the way. Where could Notpla go next? What are you trialing? What are you testing? What are you inventing with this amazing material for the future?
Yeah, so we've got a really exciting pipeline of other sustainable packaging solutions using seaweed and plants. So I think that what we want is to not create just one or two interesting applications, but really like bring to the market a catalog of sustainable packaging solutions that are going to help them replace some of the plastic that they are putting out there. So, well, actually, I've got a few here, so you can have a look. But this is our first product, Oho. So it's basically this edible capsule that contain liquids. Could be for energy drinks for marathons or cocktails for parties and festivals. So it's completely edible. So I don't know if you want to
I'll give it a go.
Have a go, but like it'll pop. So make sure you close your mouth and cheers.
Cheers.
Packaging you can eat, so it's literally like gone. So that's the first product, and we're also using it for ketchup and mayo for like takeaway condiments. And now we've just actually launched this takeaway box for like food deliveries that is made of cardboard that is coated with seaweed. So typically those products contain a thin layer of plastic to make the cardboard resist the hot.
Isn't it really hard to recycle?
Exactly, it's not recyclable because it's two materials that are very hard to separate. So basically, like even if it looks good when there is cardboard, any composite material is just having a very kind of like complex end of life. So all of a sudden, by replacing this with seaweed, we have something that is natural, that is biodegradable, and that is recyclable. So really excited. After like a few years of R&D, we're launching this with Just Eat in the UK. And always working on some other stuff, but for example, one of the things that we're working on at the moment is using some of the byproducts of the extraction of seaweed that we have to do to get some of the properties for these materials, and using that part of the seaweed that we didn't use before to make, for example, seaweed paper or cardboard. So we're always trying to find a way to use as much as possible the whole seaweed plant, and also potentially incorporate some other waste streams from some of our clients into their own packaging, so that we can actually package their products with whatever they are already extracting in the first place.
Brilliant. And I know we're having lots of discussion with other partners and other brands and clients within Superunion about how Notpla can play a role in driving those sustainability goals and hopefully having a big impact on reducing the amount of single-use plastic. So thanks very much, Pierre. Really great to hear the story and hear what interesting and amazing products you're working on. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
No worries. Thank you.
Cheers.